What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Knick-Knack Review. I am your host, Clint the Knick-Knack, and today we get to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 2. Let's get into it. So on this episode, we actually got to see more of the backstory of the new Captain America, aka the U.S. agent. So, yeah, you kind of learned that he's kind of just your regular old guy, military, but also he acts like more like the quarterback of a football team, which, I mean, he's cool and everything, but at the same, he starts out like a regular nice guy, but at the same time, you can tell something's off. He's really like, arrogant, maybe? And we actually get the introduction to his sidekick in the comic books, Battlestar. So the way this episode starts is they're in the locker room, just kind of getting ready and prepping for the big show. And he comes out with the new Captain America outfit, and it actually looks pretty cool. But you can obviously tell. I mean, it doesn't look as good as it did on Chris Evans. But one thing I noticed that the band was actually playing the song "Star Spangled Man with the Plan," and it was kind of a more a contemporary version of it. But it was actually kind of nice. It was the band doing it. And it actually sounded really good. Early in the scene, you actually get to see the new Cap having an interview with a reporter, and that's kind of when you see like why he was picked for the new Captain America. He actually has pretty good skills handling that shield. I was actually impressed. I was actually glad they showed that because an average Joe, you kind of feel like why would he be deserving of Captain America's shield, but they actually prove as to why he is. Now, he's not exactly a super soldier. He is still a regular guy. So I'm interested to see if later in the series, if he's going to actually get any kind of serum that will enhance him to the level of, say, Bucky. Now, one thing I obviously enjoyed was the reunion of Sam and Bucky, and it wasn't like a reunion like you haven't seen each other in forever. I was actually kind of hoping, since they weren't in the first episode together, that it would kind of be like a, hey, how's it going? But actually it was kind of a, oh, what are you doing here reunion. So I didn't really expect that. They were very reluctant to work together, and that kind of played for like, what's going on here? Something happened. And eventually you find out that Bucky was kind of like, Sam, why'd you give up the shield? Man, Cap gave it to you. Like, you're nuts. Why would you do that? So eventually, after a little back and forth with Sam and Bucky, Sam's like, you know what? Look, I don't have time for this. I got to go on a mission because I know a little bit more information about these flags. What are they called again? So Sam and Bucky hop on a plane to go confront the Flag Smashers. They end up on a field, and the regular Sam and Bucky banter back and forth was actually pretty nice. I did like the scene, however, when after Sam jumped out of the plane, Bucky didn't have a parachute to jump out of, and he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm good. I was like, okay, let's see what you're made out of. He was good, but he got banged up. I was impressed. Use that metal arm. All right. One little tidbit I did like that I noticed, it wasn't really a big deal. It wasn't a big scene or anything, but it's after Bucky lands and him and Sam kind of meet up. He meets up with Red Wing first, and they're walking in this like abandoned building, and they tracking down the Flag Smashers, and it's quick, if you won't notice if you're not paying attention, but Red Wing comes up on side of Bucky, and Bucky just kind of it does like that. I think it's hilarious because he's treating him like a fly. I mean, it is a robot, like a drone type, but I just think I love the fact that he hates Red Wing so much, and he's just like swat him out. I don't know. I just found that really comedic. How about you? Anywho, after gathering a little intel, they eventually go after the bad guys, and they have a pretty sweet fight scene on top of the two 18-wheelers. I gotta say, one scene though I noticed is when Bucky manages to get on back of one of the trailers, and he opens the door and just casually walks in. The other truck, correct me if I'm wrong, but the other truck was right behind him, right? And didn't honk or do anything. He just said like, okay, well, that guy's just gonna go right in. I'm not gonna say nothing. Hey, I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. Leave a comment down below and let me know if that was weird for you or maybe I'm missing something. I will say that was well choreographed. It was really cool. There was a lot going on, but not too much to where you couldn't follow it. The choreography was there, and then the new Captain America comes out of nowhere just with a shield. Wow! And that was really cool. Kind of made me think of original Cap, and he did a few throws with that shield that was impressive, and it really reminded me of the Avengers movies and Captain America movies. So that was really well done. After that whole fight scene, Bucky and Sam are just walking down the road, and beep beep, here comes the new Captain America and Battlestar in the Jeep, going to pick him up, and it's just kind of like, dude's kind of cringy. Nothing against the actor, but he's just, I guess he's doing a really good job because you're not really supposed to like him. I mean, maybe some people will. Not this guy. So Sam and Bucky end up hopping a ride with them, and that's when they actually meet Battlestar for the first time. And after a quick conversation with them, they're like, nope, let's go. This is around the time when Bucky was like, yeah, Sam, there's something you need to know. And it's like, what? So basically, Bucky brings Sam to meet one of the first Winter Soldiers ever after Bucky, Isaiah. And it was a really cool introduction because I wasn't sure exactly where they were going with this. But then they're talking to him, and then you see him grab like a can and just whoosh, right up against the wall, and you're like, oh, okay, this old dude is strong. Holy crap. And you realize he wasn't the last Winter Soldier, or even he was the first, but he wasn't the last. But that's the thing about like Civil War. You learn that he wasn't the only one, but they don't even mention this guy. So this was another one. So there could be a whole slew of Winter Soldiers we don't even know about yet. And I do love the scene where they're talking and Isaiah's like, yeah, I remember, I've been waiting for this day or whatever. I remember beating the crap out of you and ripping your arm in half and all that. So it was actually kind of cool to hear that the Winter Soldier got his butt kicked early on in his career. I thought that was pretty neat. After they leave Isaiah's house, Bucky actually ends up getting arrested after the cops approach Sam like, who the heck are you? Are y'all, is this guy bothering you? And he's like, no. And then finally they recognize who Sam is and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but wait, hold on 1 second. They find out there's a warrant for Bucky's arrest because he skipped out on a therapy session. So he gets arrested, and I'm like, well, this is familiar. After Bucky gets arrested, you see Sam and Bucky actually in a therapy session with the therapist. And she explains to Sam basically like, he skipped out, so basically he gets arrested. This is where we get the scene that most people probably saw in the trailer where they're doing the staring contest. And yeah, they do it. It was comedic, but, mission accomplished. After a little back and forth with the therapist and also Bucky and Sam, they basically come to terms like, okay, you know what? I got to do a job. You can come with me. And after that, we'll take a really long vacation. So you see a lot of resentment there. And I'm sure it'll be patched up throughout the series. But it was kind of like, oh, man, you want to see them as a team. You want to see that dynamic between them. So after the scene with the therapy, they basically continue talking. And they're like, okay, we got to go see him. And they're like, he's like, who? We got to go see Zemo. And I'm like, who? And then next thing you know, you see a long hallway and a bunch of doors, and then bam, Zemo is back. I'm really excited to see that character come back, that villain, because that was a very realistic villain who basically you could definitely, you can relate to him because he had a really clear motive in Civil War, and he was just a normal guy that basically took down the entire Avengers. That was very impressive. He divided them. And if it wasn't for him, Infinity War actually would have turned out differently. So yeah, bravo, but at the same time, he's back. One thing I forgot to mention is that the flag... One thing you find out about the Flag Smashers is that their whole goal is to try to bring back the way the world was during or right after the blip. And that's interesting to me because the world was in chaos, so that's what they were used to. They had 5 years of probably a lot of chaos, a lot of bad things happened, and all of a sudden a few billion people come back, and then bam, everything that they were trying to do is kind of like disrupted. So that's a very different motive and a very interesting motive, I must say. So that's their main goal, is to basically bring the world back to where it was during the blip, after the blip. All in all, I think this was a pretty good episode. This was not a favorite of mine based on the last one. I did prefer the first one much more. But you got to see the new Captain America a little more fleshed out. Got to learn just a little bit more about him. I just don't like him. All in all, I find that this episode wasn't as good as the first one, but it definitely brought an introduction to some new characters, and of course brought back a few familiar faces. Especially one. I'm really hoping they dive deeper into the super soldiers' history as far as how many there were, which ones, maybe there were successful ones, maybe there weren't. You kind of got a little bit of that in Civil War, but that's where I'm hoping they go with this since they introduced Isaiah, and I think that was really, really, really cool. Well, that about does it for this episode, guys. If you like this video, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.